Hey, welcome to Nick's Corner. I'm Nick, you're in my corner. Today, we're going to do a Q&A, which my uh, people who are in my Discord community helped me out with some questions that they wanted answered from me, and I appreciate every single one of them for taking the time to answer or to give me some questions. And so thank you very much to everyone in my community. Also, if you would like to join my Discord community, the link is down below, just under Discord. You can join there and be a part of the community as well and participate in things like this when it comes up. So they asked me, what is your favorite Song of Ice and Fire book and why? I would have to say Dance of Dragons, but the reason for that is kind of a lame reason. I tried really hard to get ahead of the show, and I wasn't a very avid reader at the time, so I was getting through a book every few months to a year, depending on the book. I think Storm of Swords took me almost a year to do at that time, and so I worked really hard on getting through them so I could try and get ahead of the show. And A Dance with Dragons was the first time I got ahead of the show, and I really enjoyed not knowing anything that was happening, and it really stood out to me as an amazing read. And I really love the combination of things that happen in that. Plus, it has all my favorite characters in it. Um, so I would have to say Dance with Dragons is easily the pick for my favorite Song of Ice and Fire book. Now, if I hadn't, I would probably say Storm of Swords because that was a very exciting book to read and a lot happened in it, but I've already seen the show at that point and kind of was expecting things to happen. What's the story behind the wizarding robe? Well, I went out to Canadian Tire one day, and that's a local store here that we have for like hardware and fishing and outdoor stuff. And they had a rack of these on sale for cheap, and got myself one and my wife one, and we wore them around the house for a little bit, and I decided I was going to do videos, and when I initially started, I was doing fantasy only, and I kind of did more than just fantasy because I wanted to give us I wanted to hit on everything that I can that I want to because I love reading and I don't want to pin my channel into a pigeonhole with just fantasy, although there is a huge, huge fantasy following on YouTube for booktubers, but I wanted to do more. So when I started out, this was kind of my gimmick thing: was wearing a wizarding robe, put it on, talk to you about fantasy stuff, and I thought that was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed doing it. And now it's actually just my robe for doing videos. I don't even wear it anymore. It sits here and waits for me to do a video. What's my favorite character arc of all time? Of all time? Of all time. Samwise Gamgee. I love Lord of the Rings. Probably Samwise for sure. He starts off as a gardener and he is the chief hero of Lord of the Rings, and anyone who disagrees with that is wrong. That's it. Samwise Gamgee is the best, and I love his character arc from beginning to end. He is quite phenomenal, and it spans the 3 books. Now, my opinion may change once we finish A Song of Ice and Fire, and once I finish myself Wheel of Time, but I'm only 4 books into Wheel of Time, and I'm up to date on A Song of Ice and Fire. What genre do you read now that would have surprised you 10 years ago? So I think it was roughly around 8 to 10 years ago that I picked up not a genre but an author. So sorry not to quite answer that because I've always read any type of genre really. But the author that surprised me the most is Stephen King. I had someone hand me The Gunslinger years ago and went, "This is his best work ever. You should read it." And I read it and I didn't like it at the time. Now, I will go back and try out um, all of the Dark Tower series probably in a year or two, just after I get through a bunch of King's work to see, to really enjoy it a little bit more. Um, and at the time, I pledged I would never read Stephen King, and I didn't touch him until October of this year when we picked up It, which was really cool and really got me into his books. So, yeah. What book left you wanting more? Well, I have a few books that have left me wanting more lately. The Witcher series, right over here. When I finished The Lady of the Lake, I was just like, I want more. But that's where it ends. So, but that was great, and The Shining actually left me wanting more. And I was so lucky that Doctor Sleep was around and kind of filled that void. It was nice. I don't think Doctor Sleep was anywhere near as good as The Shining, but it filled that gap of wanting more. What is your process of choosing books? I don't really have a process. I kind of just pick up a book and go with it. Sometimes it's the cover, sometimes it's what's been recommended, sometimes it's the back of the book that gets me really intrigued. Uh, I don't really have a process for choosing. Sometimes I get you guys to choose with some of the polls and things like that, but ultimately I don't really pick out which books I'm gonna buy. I just kind of grab them and go. Like The Witcher, I waited until I seen the first season of the show to see if it was something I was gonna even be interested in, and I was hugely interested and just flew through this series. Do you put books back because of the cover? Sometimes. Sometimes I do. It happens, but usually not. I generally will look at a book, and if it's got a bad cover, now, a lot of people say Wheel of Time has bad covers, but I love their covers. They're so great. They're cheesy, but they're fantastic. So, bad covers are arbitrary. Depends on what you think. There's like My Best Friend's Exorcism. That's like a bad 80s movie that I've seen, and I want to pick it up because it looks like a bad 80s movie. um, so, do I put books back because of the cover? Sometimes I do. It depends. Like, always, like, if I want to buy a certain book and it's a TV or movie adaptation cover, I will always put it back. I do my very best to not buy books that have TV and movie covers because I don't want those. Um, I know. Oh well. How has starting book clubs or participating in clubs affected your reading routine? Well, since I have started participating in book clubs and starting my own book clubs, I have found myself to be doing more reading. I am more likely to buckle down and get that book done because there's people expecting me to finish it so I can have a conversation with them. So things like that. Otherwise, I don't think I would read as much if I didn't have a channel and I didn't run book clubs because I would probably just do it at my own pace and not really worry about making content or worry about hosting a book club for people, things like that. I just do it on my own time. Probably do like one book a month or less. And, one of the things I really love about reading is how much I've been reading. I am just ecstatic about it. So it's one of those things that I have always just wanted to try and, read more. And it's definitely helped me read more. So there is that. What's the most overrated book you've ever read? Most overrated book I've ever read. Definitely The Witch Elm, because everyone said that was Tana French's best book. And maybe it is, and if it is, I don't really want to read any more Tana French, because I thought it was not that great. I was bored, and I dredged my way through it, hoping that there was something at the end of the tunnel, and there wasn't. Uh, and a lot of people online and the back of the books, everything said it was a great book. They lied. It wasn't. I was not happy. A book you keep putting off for others. What is a book I keep putting off for other books? I don't know if there are any books I put off. Because I generally read the majority of the books I have. There's a bunch of books I haven't read that I have. But there's none of them that I've been, like, actively putting off. Um, Maybe, like, Red Rising or Six of Crows. I bought that 2 years ago, and just they've been sitting on my shelf. I haven't really gotten around to them. I've heard good things about both of them, and I'm looking forward to digging into them. But I have not read anything for them. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything else that I've kind of just put on the back burner. I don't think I do. I don't think I do that too often. Usually, I try and keep everything going so I can read more. What's the longest unread book on your shelf? Well, I already know what that is. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I've had this since around university, maybe a little bit before, and I've always wanted to read it, and I never have. I really love the movies, but I haven't read it, so that's something I want to check out. What were key factors that changed me from a reader to a book vlogger? Well, I wanted to read more. I wanted to do more than what I had been doing previously. And I feel like I was not quite reading as much as I could be. And I wanted something to push me to do more, because I have PTSD and I need escapism and I need something to wrap my brain around so I don't have to focus on negative thoughts in my mind. Um, so I always been trying to become a more avid reader, to do more, because I know I can and I want to. I do my very best. Right now, I'm trying to tackle The Stand. I've been looking at it for a couple days, and soon I'm going to open it up and start reading. And once I hit it, I'm going to fly through it. And I've got 2 more books to do this month, so I am looking forward to that. Also, I love connecting with people and having a community with everyone to talk with, all of our stuff that's going on. Once again, I keep saying about my Discord channel, but like, it's been one of the best parts of running a book vlog is being able to connect with other people who are also avid readers. What's your idea of the perfect horror book? So far, the best horror books I've read has been Pet Sematary or The Shining. They have been great incarnations of horror books. They're freaky. They leave you thinking about the story long after you've done, like, finished reading. And both are pretty perfect in a sense. Like, they get you right where they need to. Now, I haven't had nightmares from any books I've read. Maybe The Whisper Man freaked me out quite a bit, but that was because it was about child abduction, and I don't like abduction, period. So that freaked me out. But aside from that, I haven't had any nightmares from books. I'm waiting for that to hit me still, one of these days. Um, how do you pick your TBR? Well, I just kind of randomly grab it. This year, I've been doing Stephen King every second month, so I always make sure there's a Stephen King book on the docket for every second month. And then the other books are always books that I think would be um, big grabs for people who are interested in reading, like for instance Dune. I know there is a lot of people who are very interested in reading Dune, and so I want to host that because I also want to read Dune, and I know there's a movie coming out in the near future. So that's one of the things that I've always wanted to do. Um, and so I everything else that gets put on my TBR is just kind of grabbing a few books to make sure I have 4 books on my TBR every month. So like I've got a Wheel of Time book and American Dirt. We did the long walk already and working on the stand for this month. And if I can throw on more, I'll throw on more. Um, have you gone blind into a book without knowing the premise? Most of the time. I think the best one was The Axeman's Jazz. I have been getting into procedurals quite a bit lately. I love the detective stories and where they go and everything like that. And the Axeman's Jazz was a fantastic entry into that. It really was a great book. I didn't know anything about it. I liked the cover of it. I liked the inside of the cover, and it made me want to buy it. So I purchased it and read it, and it was fantastic. So I frequently go into books blind unless someone has told me about the book. Generally, sometimes I'll look up reviews and stuff, but not too often. So, for instance, like Rage of Dragons, I am looking forward to getting. I don't know anything about it. I see a lot of people saying they love it, and that's it. So I'm going in blind there. I'm also going to be picking up Ninth House eventually, and that's another one. I don't know anything about it other than it's secret society stuff and it's dark, and I'm interested in that. So we'll go from there. What would be your 3 favorite genres? Horror, sci-fi, fantasy. Easy. Actually, let's cut out sci-fi for procedurals. I really like mysteries, stuff like that. So yeah, horror, mystery, and fantasy for sure. Fantasy is my favorite, of course, out of all of them, above and beyond. However, I have found myself loving horror more and more, and I have also found myself loving mystery more and more. Sci-fi is a close fourth, by the way, because I love sci-fi. What is the main reason you read? Well, I touched on it before, mostly for my PTSD. I try to keep my brain active and I try to keep it occupied so that I don't risk falling back on mental health issues. Um, I'm a huge advocate for people having mental health and for people doing the best they can for themselves. And I have always tried to find things that work throughout the years. And one of the best things that has always worked is reading vast amounts. Because one of the things I did when it first hit me was I read probably about a book a week. And I did like The Road, I did Fear and Loathing, um, it was Catcher in the Rye. There was a bunch of books that I did in the run of like a couple months. Snuff by Chuck Palahniuk. There's all kinds of them, and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it quite a bit, and then I stopped for a little bit because my mind made me stop, and I fell into a deep hole, and then I kept starting and stopping over the years. And so I'm really happy to be continuing on with it and working really hard on it. Anyway, guys, this is an extraordinarily long video for me. Q&As from people from my Discord channel, and I want to thank you all very much for helping me get the questions that needed answering for you folks. And also, thank you so much for coming to the corner. I will see you guys in another video. Have a great day. Bye.